She didn't fit the criteria.
I received credit many times for saving her, and I did not.
There really was nothing to go on.
She realized then what was actually happening.
You're late.
I am never late.
It's 6:01.
No, it's 6. Your clock is off by 1 minute.
That clock is off, but not the one on my phone.
I walked in the door as it turned 6:01. Feel better?
A little bit, yes.
Glad I could help. I like your shirt.
Thanks. It's Darth Maul from Star Wars.
Trek.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's Obi-Wan from The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, haha, very funny.
I don't get what's funny. Everyone knows that Harry Potter joins the dark side in the end.
I hate you.
I know. Get it?
You haven't even seen Star Wars.
Okay, you don't have to see Star Wars to quote it. I already know what happens in the end, thus not needing to see it.
You continue to break my heart.
Do you want a hug?
Yes.
No.
You were the one that offered.
And now I'm rescinding the offer.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What?
I just realized I don't think we've ever hugged before.
That is correct.
After all these years.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
What?
Nothing. I think I found my new purpose in life, that's all.
Okay, funny.
You know what's really funny, actually? You being late.
I wasn't late.
In Lottie time, you were. You were usually 15 minutes early, and you bring me coffee.
Correction, I don't bring you coffee. I bring you tea because of your sensitive little tummy. Okay, work went a little over today. That's why I was running later than usual.
Seems suspicious.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I don't know if I totally buy it.
Believe what you want. Okay, will you stop staring at me?
I'm observing your tells.
Well, are my tells telling you anything yet?
Nope. But when they start talking, I will be here to listen.
Hi, guys! I brought coffee.
God bless you.
Well, technically, I didn't bring you coffee because of your sensitive tummy.
Yeah, everyone make fun of the tea guy.
And here is your boring black coffee.
Thank you. Wait, Alex is late and you didn't bug her about it.
Alex is always late.
That is anti-black, but valid. Did you guys see we passed 30K on Instagram?
Yeah, which is awesome. I've been spending most of the day trying to sort through all the sponsors that want us to feature them on the pod.
I have a student named Carmen who's a kick-ass graphic designer, and she said she would help us with some merch. Plus, I'm all about using a local female artist.
Yeah, just ask what she charges and we can get the ball rolling on that.
Sweet, I'll text her now. Shar, did you send the gift to Stormrage1212 yet?
Shit. No, I didn't. I'll do it tomorrow.
Sweet.
So, how was your day?
Pleasantly surprising. It's been the busiest Monday I've had in a bit. Felt normal for once.
How many classes did you teach today?
Only 3.
Ha, only 3.
Yeah, I'm convinced you're Wonder Woman.
A compliment from Shar. Wow, this must be a good day. Since I want to roll here, what are the odds you would let me set you up?
Less than 10%.
That's higher than I thought.
Okay, I barely have time for this podcast, let alone another human.
Such a romantic.
Listen, he's really cool, and I can totally vouch for him. He volunteers at this other studio, plus he has a PhD.
Oh, I can see the PhD's tempting, huh?
Come on. Would I lead you astray?
I'll think about it.
I'll take it. Okay, let's test the mics. Connor, give it a go.
Okay. Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Check 1, 2, 3.
What are the odds you use that voice for the entire podcast?
1 and 15.
Shar, count us off.
1, 2, 3.
9. Oh!
You're lucky. Shar, check yours.
I am checking the mic.
Sounds good. Give me a sec to set mine up real quick.
Wow, that's a fancy new mic you got there.
Oh, yeah. I had some extra cash this month and was tired of yelling into your microphones from across the table. Okay, my mic is working and we are ready to roll. Here we go in 3, 2.
Hello, and welcome back to Primetime Crime Time, a podcast where a couple of true crime junkies talk about, you guessed it, true crime. I'm Connor, and to my right, I have the brains of this duo, Charlotte.
Hey.
And last, but certainly not least, we have our sound extraordinaire, truly a goddess of creativity based in the ear, Alex.
Hi, guys.
We are really, really excited to delve into today's story, but first, we thought we would shake things up a little bit.
We are constantly amazed by all your love and support. Plus, we just hit 30K on Instagram. As a little thank you, we thought we would answer some fan questions. These were taken off either our Instagram or our Patreon, so give us a quick follow if you haven't done so already. You can find us at Primetime Crime Time Pod, and there's a link for our Patreon in the bio as well. First, we have a question for Connie. Rose All Day 69 asks, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, good question. My go-tos are either I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys or Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. But I need a duet partner for the second one, so what do you say, Rose All Day 69?
Char, Forensics Babe 101 asks, what's been your favorite case to work on in your career so far?
All of them.
Care to expand?
They're all my favorite because they're all important.
Tomato. I think we should find a different question for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Why?
It's just not a very personable question.
What do you mean my job isn't personable enough?
No, it is, but we talk about true crime for like 90% of the podcast, and we want the listeners to get to know you on a personal level.
Okay.
You don't seem convinced.
Well, the sole reason you brought me onto this podcast is because I have the forensics perspective, so I didn't really know that I would have to answer fluff questions about karaoke.
Come on, I'll ask you a really easy question. It'll be quick, easy to answer.
Okay.
All right, we are back in 3, 2. Okay, Charlotte, Kitty Girl 135 asks if you have any pets.
I have a Burmese cat named Lizzie.
Oh, any significance behind the name?
I named her after Lizzie Borden.
Well, thank God Lizzie doesn't know how to work an axe.
Lizzie really is the sweetest, and I don't even like cats.
Okay, Alex, at Not That Rachel Berry asks, if you could have dinner with any 4 people in the world, dead or alive, who would they be?
Easy. Carrie Fisher, Serena Williams, Frida Gibbs, and Prince.
Who's Frida Gibbs?
The most dangerous woman in the world. She's a kickboxing world champ / badass martial artist.
So do you consider martial arts a sport, or do you consider it an art?
Why can't it be both?
Touche.
Touché.
Potato.
Anyway, that concludes our Q&A for this episode. A huge thank you to our loyal fans for sending in some awesome questions. Let us know if you like this little segment, and we'll keep it in for future episodes.
Ugh.
I'm gonna keep going and cut that out later.
All right, let's get to the good stuff, Charlotte.
The kidnapping and badass escape of Elizabeth Shoaf.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, let's start with the who and where. Elizabeth Shoaf was a 14-year-old freshman in high school from Lugoff, South Carolina. Now, Lugoff is a small area in Kershaw County and only has a population of about 6,000 to 7,000 people.
It's also an area that is heavily wooded. I mean, forests everywhere and lumberjacks to follow.
It's true. There have been multiple sightings of Babe the Blue Ox near the local supermarket.
And so the townsfolk of Lugoff describe it as a really safe area. It's like one of those small towns where everybody knows everybody.
Elizabeth was the middle child of Don and Madeline Shoaf and has an older sister named Susan and a younger brother named Donnie. Elizabeth was just your average 14-year-old who was described as being incredibly independent and sanguinely shy. She was known as a big rule follower.
Yeah, which brings us to September 6th, 2006. And just like how most of these stories start, it was an average day for Elizabeth. School ends, she gets off the bus with a couple of her friends. The students she usually walks home with were picked up by one of their older brothers, and the brother even offered to drive Elizabeth home, but she declined and walked the rest of the way.
Walking home from school is the same every day. I breathe the breeze. The branches twist and they sparkle at me. Weave through the trees. Then sharply a shadow is watching me. Strange uniform. He's coming just ever closer and I feel a storm. He says, I found your brother Donnie. He was hiding contraband. And listen, if you wanna help him, you'll come with me, you understand. he has my brother. I don't think that this is right. Choose one or the other. I don't think that this is right. Just make a decision. I don't think that this is right. Okay. Then he puts cuffs around my wrists. I don't think that this is right. I must come with him, he insists. I don't think that this is right. He ties something around my neck, tells me not to do this wrong, 'cause if I try to escape, it turns out this is a bomb.
The man who says he's with the Kershaw County Police Department has detained her for interrogation. They walk deeper into the forest that Elizabeth thought she knew like the back of her hand. He asks her questions like, do you have a cell phone? And are you a virgin? I realized then what was actually happening.
I could see my house. You'd think it wouldn't happen to you. The wrong place at the wrong time.
Elizabeth's captor told her that she was a smart girl who should have figured it out.
She's a 14-year-old girl who was just approached by a man posing as a police officer. How would she even know?
Right, and before we go any further, I'm going to start talking about the sexual assault that is prevalent in this case. I'll give you a warning anytime I'm about to talk about the subject.
You'll hear a tone after we're done talking about it, so you'll know that you're in the clear. Okay, now is the time to fast forward 40 seconds.
Elizabeth starts begging for her life and asks her captor what exactly he wanted from her. He told her that if she gave him oral sex, that he would let her go. So she attempted to, but couldn't, and they continued walking.
And at this point, Elizabeth has no idea where she is. Even though she knows the area pretty well, her captor made sure to walk in circles just over and over again to get her really lost. Eventually, they stop and he lifts up this door that's been perfectly camouflaged by foliage.
Elizabeth enters the bunker, he padlocks the door behind them, and immediately rapes her for the first time. Naked and terrified, he then chains her around the neck to the ceiling above the bed. She is then told that there are multiple bombs hidden around the bunker outside, so she couldn't even leave in one piece if she tried.
This bunker that the captor built was 8 feet wide by 8 feet deep, and it had shelving with all the supplies that they would need. He also made a bed out of sticks, and he had a small battery-operated TV and radio. Elizabeth only had ramen noodles to eat, cooked with a propane tank, and their quote-unquote toilet was a patio chair that had a hole cut out of the seat and then a bucket underneath it.
So the kidnapping was planned since he had all the supplies ready to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, and after he gets Elizabeth inside the bunker, he tells her that his real plan is to lure all the cops to the bunker, leave her, and then just blow them all up. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears here for a second and talk about what's going on outside the bunker while all of this is going on. So let's just rewind for a second.
Tomato, you know I'm gonna add an actual sound effect later, right?
Yeah. I was just giving you some inspiration for the sound, some sinspiration, if you will.
Well, thank you for that. We are back in 3, 2...
So, September 6th, Dawn Shoaf went hunting for the day, and Madeline Shoaf was at work, but she realized that she didn't get a call from her kids ensuring her that they had gotten home from school that day, which is what they normally do every day. So she followed her gut feeling and called her son Donnie, who said that Elizabeth didn't come home. So now a mother's instinct immediately kicks in, and she leaves work. On the way home, she starts calling neighbors and friends and asking if anyone saw Elizabeth walk home from school, which they did, but nobody actually saw her go inside the house. And when Madeline arrives, she notices that Elizabeth's room looks normal and nothing is out of place. So she decides to turn to the police.
Looks like a runaway. We get these every other day. People think their children never disobey. It's a tricky one for sure, but the sheriff is a fair and cautious man. Gotta let it run the course. He will find her if he can.
Sheriff Steve McCaskill refuses to call an Amber Alert because
She didn't fit the criteria. There was no vehicle. There really was nothing to go on.
I'm getting constant questions on this fast-ticking time bomb. And let's not even mention the hysterics from her mom. We're out here sending bloodhounds, every officer and patrol. But nothing's good enough for them, I just can't get control. So I didn't send out one alert, but hell, everyone's a critic. All these fence-sitters and bystanders, so goddamn analytic. Where the journalists cry and the pundits all sigh, it's downright parasitic. Do you get it? No, everyone's a lousy critic. You people never understand the things that we go through. You sit around and criticize while we're out sticking up for you. I never cheat, I'd never lie. I took an oath, I'd testify. I did my best here every day, and this girl was a runaway. She should have been a runaway. Hell, everyone's a critic, but I'm not the one who did it.
While the journalists cry and the pundits all sigh,
it's goddamn parasitic. Do you get it? No, everyone's a nasty, everyone's a no good, everyone's a lousy critic.
The police started searching 24 hours later. They brought in the bloodhounds and they started checking sex offenders in the area, but the sheriff still refused to put out an Amber Alert. And the local news caught wind of that situation, and immediately they started reporting on this case. Hundreds of volunteers coming to the Shoaf's aid to help with their search. But unfortunately, all the help they received kind of backfired because the police started tracking footprints and tracing them back to the volunteers. But the good news is that the sheriff finally admitted that Elizabeth was actually, in fact, missing.
Finally.
On day 3.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they graciously admit that she was not a runaway, and they amp up the search. With hundreds and hundreds of tips come rolling in, and unfortunately, most of them are about bodies that were found. So as you can imagine, Don and Madeline are praying that none of the bodies were Elizabeth's. Tomato.
Sorry, I gotta step out real quick.
Everything okay?
Yeah, just have to answer a quick question for a colleague. Time sensitive.
Man, this case is intense.
I know, it's crazy.
It's so frustrating. Like, if I was in McCaskill's shoes, I would do everything in my power to help the Shoafs out. Like, I would say I'm a pretty empathetic human, but I really can't wrap my brain around McCaskill's thought process. In this life or death situation, how can you just stand there and do nothing? Especially when you see hundreds of volunteers coming to the Shoaf's aid. Wouldn't that make you think, hey, maybe I'm the problem here and should probably fucking call an Amber Alert at the very least? Sometimes I feel like officers dissociate themselves so much from their job that they completely lose their empathy and any sense of urgency.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm gonna go grab a snack or something really fast. You want anything?
No, I'm good.
You sure? 'Cause I make a mean tap water.
I'm good, thank you. I tried to tell you, I tried to get you out. I didn't want to watch you struggle and to doubt. You knew the password, you knew the scenes and score, and still I couldn't keep you safe from wanting more, 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 more. I saw the skyline, put puzzles into place, my name a byline, but no accolades erase the expectations. They crush me at the door, my lamentation that I never can do more. See through lies, to
fight off men to gouge their eyes. I've helped women stand their ground for times when no help's to be found. I've opened windows and broken through the door, and when they called me, I needed to give these stories deserve more.
Crisis averted.
Ugh. What did you bring in behind you?
What do you mean?
You don't smell that?
A little, yeah.
What?
Smoke.
It's not that bad. You're being dramatic.
Mrs. Robinson was smoking.
Oh, I thought she quit.
Yeah, I know, me too. Okay, ready to jump back in?
Let's do it.
Are you gonna chew while we record?
I wouldn't be chewing if we didn't have to stop.
Okay. Yeah, no, keep going. Take your time. Just waiting on you.
This is an ASMR channel now.
No, dear God. You're annoying.
We may proceed.
I'll pick up where we left off.
Great. We are back in 3, 2.
Okay, so let's jump back into what's happening inside the bunker. This is your last sexual assault warning.
15 seconds.
Elizabeth was raped by her captor 2 to 5 times a day, and this becomes her new normal. As time went on, she realizes that the less she fought back or resisted, the less violent he was with her. And this gives Elizabeth an idea. Now, like the badass she is, she started convincing her captor that she loved him. And in an interview with Dateline, she said, I would always
do what he told me to do. And like he'd always call me baby, so I called him that back.
Because she gains his trust, Elizabeth eventually earns privileges. Now this includes being able to wear clothes again, or even just sitting on the floor. He starts showing her the booby traps that he made for the police, and at night they would take turns sleeping in case the police started searching around the area where the bunker was. Elizabeth and her captor would even watch the news together, and specifically watch the coverage on her case.
I watched my mom and my aunt. Those were the only people I saw on the news, and watched them talk about how I was missing, and they wouldn't put an Amber Alert out for me. It made me angry because they thought I was a runaway.
She even talked about the picture that they used to spread the word about her.
I hated that picture. I hated it with a passion. It was like one of the worst pictures, and they put it on TV.
Sometimes late at night, he would even handcuff Elizabeth to him, and together they would walk outside the bunker to what he called the watering hole. He was really there so he could get enough service to text and call his girlfriend.
He had a girlfriend?
Oh yeah, We're gonna delve into that later on. While the two of them were out on these walks, Elizabeth would pull out strands of her hair, hoping that someone would find them.
Genius.
Also from the walks, she finally recognized where she was, because they were in a neighborhood, turns out, called Charm Hill.
Right, and at this point, this captor is fully in love with Elizabeth and tells her that his new plan is to run out of the state with her. At the time, she agrees to leave with him, but deep down knows that she doesn't have much time left to escape. So she starts trying to plan and figure out a way to kill him, and one night while he was sleeping, she even grabs his gun, puts it to his temple, and shoots. Now, okay, thankfully it jams because it was only a pellet pistol and wouldn't have done the necessary damage. And on the 7th day, while he was sleeping, Elizabeth grabs his phone and tries to text her mom.
When he was like real deep in his snoring and I knew he was asleep, I would start text messaging.
She tried so many times to get the text to go through, but they failed every time, and even tried to stick the phone outside the bunker to get service. Elizabeth was caught using the phone, but she explained to him that she was just playing games, which was one of her privileges, so he believed it.
So now we're gonna go back to what's happening outside of the bunker. The police are still looking. Honestly, they're looking in the right area, but the bunker is just so hidden. Like, it's hidden very well, honestly. Elizabeth said she would hear footprints and see shadows above her all the time, like right there. Her captor would even threaten to tase her if she made any noise or any movements that might give them away. Actually, her sister, Susan, even said that she walked over the bunker multiple times. On day 7 of Elizabeth being gone, the town held a vigil.
At the vigil, her mother Madeline received a text from an unknown number stating,
"Hi Mom, I'm in a hole across from Charm Hill. Where the big trucks go in and out, there's a bomb, call police."
The phone number was traced to the Charm Hill area, which was near the Shoaf's property, and it belonged to a man named Vincent Filia.
I was no stranger to the police, but was thought to escape town.
Now here's where the situation gets a bit elevated. Sheriff McCaskill makes a life-changing decision.
I decide to leak the story to the press.
What?
Please, God, help me!
Just wait, it gets worse. Remember who has a TV in their bunker?
No.
The police think that I kidnapped Elizabeth and that she sent
the text.
And I am rightfully furious.
Madeline is quoted saying that they had just killed her daughter.
What the fuck were they thinking?
In an interview, Sheriff McCaskill explains that they wanted Filia to know that they were after him.
It was a risk, but a risk worth taking.
Bullshit. There is no way they knew that there was a TV in the bunker. They couldn't even find it.
Exactly. And now, Filia knows that Elizabeth betrayed him.
At this point, Elizabeth is convinced that he's gonna kill her, but because she's a badass, she tries one more tactic.
What's this? What the fuck is this?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't
Evan,
know?
Please calm down.
Fuck calm, I tried calm before.
I didn't send that text, I don't know what it is.
Then how in the hell did they know my name?
Could be that someone saw you, tipped off the police.
That could make sense, but holy fucking hell, I'm screwed. You're smart. What would you do?
You know that I love you, you've got to stay safe. But baby, your life's on the line. They won't understand us, they're looking for me. I think that the plan's in decline. I think that you should leave while you still can and leave me here to grieve and make a plan.
But I can't leave you here alone.
I don't want you to go to jail.
I knew it was our
You know that I love you, you've got to stay safe.
But baby, your life's on the
line. They won't understand us, they're looking for me. You know that you'll always be mine. You know that you'll always be mine.
I love you.
Goodbye, Elizabeth.
Goodbye.
And with that realization that he was gone, she fell asleep.
Elizabeth eventually wakes up and she leaves the bunker. Instead of running away, she stays put and she starts yelling, and thankfully she was heard and spotted by Chief Investigator David Tomley.
I received credit many times for saving her, and I did not. That child saved herself.
My first feeling of true safety was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
At the hospital, she was reunited with her family and thrilled to see that Donnie was safe. From the moment that Madeline saw her daughter, though, she knew what happened to her. Actually, one of the first things that Elizabeth confided in her mother was that,
Mama, I'm no longer a virgin.
Her mother is quoted saying she grew up from being a child to being an adult in 10 days.
Elizabeth was too frightened to return home until Vincent was found, so she stayed at her grandmother's house. 19 hours later, they got a tip from a woman who said that a man tried to carjack her.
Tried?
Yeah, get this. Filia went up to this poor lady and her daughter, tried to take their car, but then she was like, fuck no. And he just was like, okay, and he just ran away.
Yeah, he was also armed.
Right, and so, as you could probably guess, Vincent was found and he was arrested. He was described as laughing and giggling when being handcuffed.
Gross. So wait, going back a second, was anyone hurt by those bombs around the bunker?
Surprisingly, No, the police found a good amount of explosives, but they weren't actually assembled very well, and a bomb squad ended up disposing of the entire bunker area.
Good.
Yeah. So, let's switch gears for a second and talk a little bit about her captor, Vincent Filia.
Tomato, why are we talking about Filia? Approaching this as a listener, I think we already know what we need to know.
Sure, but there's some important background information that's pretty key in the case.
I hear you, but I don't really think our audience would be very interested in learning about how fucked up his childhood was.
Well, actually, his childhood was pretty normal.
I just keep thinking about the Miyazaki case and the repercussions of that episode.
Well, we only had like 10 listeners back then, so if we lost one, it made a pretty big impact. I don't think us talking about Miyazaki's backstory was the reason we lost that listener.
I just don't think we need to give this man any more airtime than he deserves.
I agree, but we have to present our audience with all the information needed.
Okay, but if we get any backlash on this episode, it's not on me. You will have to respond to all of the DMs and comments.
Deal.
Okay, sweet. I'm glad we at least had this conversation because it was bound to pop up again, and I feel like we ignored it last time.
For sure.
Okay, we are back in 3, 2.
All right, friends, let's talk briefly about Vincent Filia. At the time of the kidnapping, Vincent was a 36-year-old construction worker who had been on the run from the police for about a year. Like we mentioned earlier, Filia had this girlfriend/common-law wife named Cindy, and he was on the run because he had sexually abused Cindy's 11-year-old daughter, Amberly. Filia would have even threatened the death of her family members if she told anyone, although Cindy knew what was happening the entire time. And to make things easier for Amberly, Cindy would give her Benadryl to get through the night with Vincent. Yeah, he even nicknamed Amberly his second housewife. They would sleep in the same bed at night, and Amberly would get up in the morning to make Vincent his morning coffee.
That's just so fucked up.
Yeah, and it unfortunately doesn't get any better. One day, Amberly noticed Filia digging what he called a storm cellar in the backyard of their motorhome, and once he was finished with the cellar, Vincent would test it out by locking Amberly in the bunker against her will.
Sounds familiar. Now, Amberly openly had an interview with Dateline after this whole incident with Elizabeth occurred, and she said
that he tried to convince her that the things he was choosing to do to her were out of love, and that it was normal.
Eventually, she went and told her 7th grade teacher what was happening to her and was taken out of this situation. And that's when Filia started running, or rather hiding from the police.
no one could find him, actually, because he had cut a hole out of the bottom of his trailer underneath his mattress. So when the police came looking for him, he could just slip right through and run away. And unfortunately, the police actually didn't find this until after they found Elizabeth.
Right. And since no one could find Filia, this gave him plenty of time to come up with his next plan of attack. He was pissed at the system for taking Amberly away and wanted revenge. Filia's original plan was to kidnap Amberly, but the foster care system moved her to a family in Georgia along with her other 2 siblings before Filia could even get to her. So then his backup plan kicked into gear. Vincent lived near Elizabeth and would watch her get off the bus every day. He picked his victim. And well, you know what happens next.
Now let's chat a bit about the court proceedings. Both Elizabeth and Amberly went to court to testify against Filia. Amberly spoke about her experiences first.
I can tell you he is not the clean-cut man you see today, and that there is no excuse for the cruelty he put me through for at least a year of my life. I used my hope to hold on. He thought he was smart enough to hurt and take advantage of a 12-year-old child. He was not smart enough to realize that I'd fight till I would take my last breath. My last breath.
When the time came, Elizabeth was too nervous to speak, so she asked her prosecutor to read her statement. Eventually, the judge handed his verdict down. He said, I have a strong belief you have forfeited your right to be a member of this society. Many people have difficult paths and don't commit the heinous crimes you've committed. I can think of no crime short of murder more repulsive than these. Vincent was sentenced to 241 years in prison with no parole. Although this seems like a happy ending, these women really went through it mentally after it all was said and done, and especially Elizabeth.
I was peachy, but then it took time to set in. And it actually hit me.
Elizabeth started experiencing depression, panic attacks, and PTSD. And if that wasn't enough on her plate, she also had to figure out how to maneuver through her life in the public eye. She would no longer be the normal 14-year-old that she once was, but was now forever known as the girl in the bunker.
Yeah, she started going to therapy to talk through all these thoughts and feelings, and she definitely had a long journey ahead of her, but she also had a strong support system right behind her.
I believe a lot of my strength came from my family.
And although she is suffering from the repercussions of what Philia did to her,
it feels good to know that I could go through something like that and make it out on the other end.
This case is a story about the resilience and strength of these two young women who rose far above the cards that they were dealt with in this world. And that is something to be celebrated and admired.
Elizabeth is now safe, healthy, and working as a dental assistant with hopes to be a dental hygienist. And our girl Amberly is a first grade teacher.
I'm truly in awe of these young women. It just goes to show that you cannot underestimate us. We will always come out on the other end, and stories like Elizabeth and Amberly's constantly remind me of why I do what I do. We're fucking fighters. And I will do everything in my power to help others unlock their potential. Please, please, please DM us on any of our socials if you want to learn how to protect yourselves. I'll hook you up.
100%.
I just want to briefly say that I am very thankful to have both of you badasses in my life.
Aw, shucks.
I'm a big fan of both of you. Anyway, I hope all of you enjoyed this week's episode.
As always, you can find us at Primetime Crime Time Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
Twitch,
Tumblr,
Pinterest,
MySpace,
Kick.
And make sure to give us a 5-star review on Yelp.
Do people still use Kick? Please let us know if you are one of the 5 people that still do.
Once again, before we head out, we want to thank you all for being so supportive of this podcast. We love what we do, and we love our little community.
This has been Primetime Crime Time with Connor,
Charlotte,
and Alex.
Talk to you next week. Okay, I am gonna order takeout. Anybody want some?
Nah, I gotta head back and get some work done. Are we meeting tomorrow to talk through the next episode?
That is the plan.
Cool. All right. See you guys later.
See you tomorrow. Make sure you eat tonight.
Yeah.
I love you.
Bye.
So, how about you? You want in on the order?
I want to be a podcaster.
Oh.
I've been thinking about it for a while now, and I really want to be a podcaster. I love you guys, and I think you're both really great at what you do, but I think a big part of the puzzle is missing here. As of right now, I think we have a very narrow view of certain topics, and I know I can widen the spectrum. I can reach a specific audience that you and Charlotte cannot, and I have a lot of thoughts and feelings and questions that are, as of now, being put on the back burner. I want to be heard. I need to be heard. It's time for me to be heard. And I don't want to yell.